somewhere around age 48, sometimes 49, sometimes 52, depending on how disciplined you've been. The math on your 401k flips. The tool you've been obediently maximizing for 20 years starts working against you. And the transition is invisible. There's no notification, no email from HR. The IRS is certainly not going to call and say, hey, you might want to reroute some of this. They're just going to wait for decades. And then, at age 73, hand you the bill. Here's the specific number nobody puts on the whiteboard. For high income and wealthy individuals, the biggest risk isn't running out of money, it's taxes. Saving too much in a 401k, especially as you approach your 70s, could put you at risk of large required minimum distributions. And if you're already in the 22 or 24% bracket now, you may be contributing money into a vehicle that pays it back to you later at 32%. That's not tax deferral. That's a tax increase on layaway. In a few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the RMD math that keeps CPAs up at night. But first, I want to show you a quieter problem hiding inside most employer plans right now, because it's compounding the damage in a way most people never see coming. The 401k is not a bad idea. Let me be completely clear about that up front, because this is not a conspiracy video. As of the third quarter of 2025, the number of 401k millionaires reached a record high of 654,000 individuals, according to Fidelity. The vehicle works, especially in your 20s and 30s, especially when your employer matches contributions, and especially if your current tax bracket is genuinely higher than what you expect in retirement. But the 401k has a shelf life, a specific mathematically definable point where maxing it out transitions from optimal to actively suboptimal. And most financial advice you will ever receive is structurally incapable of telling you when that point arrives. Not because your advisor is stupid, because your advisor earns more when you have more assets under management, and the simple truth that some of your money belongs in a taxable brokerage account instead of a tax-deferred one doesn't exactly help their revenue model. That's not a conspiracy, that's incentives. Amused disappointment, not outrage. Think of your 401k like a storage unit. When you first sign the lease, it feels like genius. You've got stuff you don't want taking up space in your house right now, the price per square foot is excellent, and you tell yourself you'll sort it out later. Year after year, you fill up the unit. It feels responsible, disciplined, organized. But here's the thing about storage units. You pay rent forever. And at a certain point, the government starts holding the key, not metaphorically. The IRS literally decides when you have to start clearing the place out. And the bigger the unit, the more you owe when you finally do. Every dollar you put into a traditional 401k is a dollar you will eventually have to clear out of that storage unit at whatever tax rate applies when you do. The promise was that your rate in retirement would be lower than your rate during your working years. For a lot of Americans, that's true. But for the people watching this video, the people who have actually been saving, who have real balances, who have done the disciplined thing for 2 decades, that assumption is quietly falling apart. And I'm going to prove it with math. Now, before I get to the RMD bomb, there's a problem happening inside your current plan right now that you almost certainly haven't quantified. Stay with me on this first, because it makes the second problem significantly worse. The average investment expense of plan assets for 401k plans with 25 participants and $250,000 in total assets is 1.37% of assets, according to the 21st edition of the 401k Averages book. 1.37% annually. On a Fortune 500 mega plan, fees run lower, sometimes as low as 0.2 or 0.3%. But if you work for a smaller company, or if you've ever been in a plan with limited investment options, 1.3 or 1.5% is extremely common and entirely legal. Now here's where the math gets ruthless. Consider 2 hypothetical investors, both contributing $10,000 annually for 30 years, earning an average of 7% annually. Investor A pays an average of 0.5% in total annual fees. Investor B pays an average of 1.5% in total annual fees. Investor A could have approximately $930,000 in their account. Investor B could have approximately $740,000 in their account. That 1% difference in annual fees results in a nearly $190,000 difference in their retirement nest egg. Gone. Not gone to the market. Gone to fees. And you never saw it leave because it was deducted silently from your returns. A recent survey by the Government Accountability Office reports that 40% of people do not fully understand 401k fees, while 41% are unaware that they pay fees at all. Think about that for a second. Nearly half of all 401k participants don't know they're paying rent on the storage unit. They just think things are growing. But there's a layer underneath the fee problem that most people miss entirely. In a taxable brokerage account, long-term capital gains are taxed at preferential rates. For 2026, a single filer pays 0% on long-term capital gains if taxable income stays at or below $49,450, 15% up to $545,000, and 20% above that level. When you pull money out of your traditional 401k, you pay ordinary income tax. That could be 22, 24, or 32%, depending on your total income in retirement. So the tax advantage of the 401k is real going in, but all of your gains eventually come out taxed as ordinary income, not capital gains. And many employer plans are stuffed with expensive actively managed funds, which compounds the fee drag on top of the tax drag. Withdrawals from taxable accounts receive more favorable and flexible tax treatment than withdrawals from traditional 401ks. Investors pulling from their taxable accounts will owe capital gains taxes, whereas money coming out of a traditional 401k is taxed at the investor's ordinary income tax rate, which is higher. Here's the reversal